Hey everyone, welcome back. I know you're feeling it right now. You've been putting in the effort, imagining a future together, maybe even sacrificing parts of your own life just to see them happy. You've convinced yourself that love is about giving, about making the other person feel seen and valued. Yet, despite all this, their actions are telling a different story. They say they love you, but then they act like you don't exist. They forget your important moments, cancel plans without a second thought, and leave you wondering if they even care. It's confusing, isn't it? Their words say one thing, but their actions speak louder, and you're left caught in the middle of a contradiction. Have you ever thought about what's really going on in their mind? Maybe they don't love you as deeply as they say, or maybe they're just going through the motions. Could it be that you're putting in more effort than they are? Or is it just that you're not as important to them as you'd like to believe? The worst part is when you start to question whether they're even interested in building something real, or if you're just a comfort for them when it's convenient. But here's the thing. Their distance might not be a reflection of your worth. Sometimes their actions have more to do with their own fears, insecurities, or personal struggles than with you. Stick around, because today we're going to dive deep into this frustrating back and forth, uncovering why they might pull away and what's really happening behind those mixed signals. So hit that like button if you're ready for the truth, because by the end of this video, you'll understand what's going on and what steps you can take to move forward with confidence. Now, let's get to the heart of it. If someone loves you, they might still pull away for a number of reasons. I'll be sharing the top 3 reasons in just a moment. But there's something else we need to talk about too. Could they be sticking around just because it's easier or more comfortable for them? What if one day they decide it's no longer worth it? That's a hard pill to swallow, but it's a reality we all need to face in relationships. As the great philosopher Seneca once said, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. And in relationships, preparation means understanding both the highs and the lows. Today, we'll uncover the real reasons behind their behavior, whether it's genuine love or something else entirely. So, let's dig deep and equip ourselves with the clarity we need to navigate these uncertain waters. But before we get into all that, here's an important reminder. No matter what happens, the one thing you control is yourself, not them. And that's where Stoic wisdom can really help. We'll be exploring every angle of this situation, and this lesson is going to empower you to take charge of your own emotional well-being. So stick with me, because what you're about to learn could change the way you handle relationships for good. And above all, no matter how tough things get, you've got to stay strong. This video isn't here to make you feel bad. It's here to help you realize just how resilient and powerful you truly are. So, if you're with me, drop a comment below and affirm, I stand strong. Let's make sure we're grounded no matter what's happening around us. You've got this. Now let's talk about why they might be ignoring you, even though they say they love you. Here are 3 possible reasons. Number 1, they express love differently than you expect. The first reason they might be pulling away, despite caring deeply for you, could be that they express love in ways you don't immediately recognize. People have different love languages, and not everyone communicates affection in the same manner. You might crave words of affirmation, frequent texts, or quality time, but they may show their love through actions rather than words. For them, love might not be about sending constant messages, but about being present when it truly counts. Imagine this. You share something important with them, maybe a personal story or an exciting event from your day, and hours pass without a reply. To you, this could feel like they don't care, but to them, this is just the way they are. They may prefer meaningful conversations in person rather than over the phone, or maybe they struggle to express themselves in writing. This difference in communication can create a gap where you question their feelings, even though they care deeply. This situation is more common than you might think. For example, one woman shared how her partner rarely replied to her texts. She initially took this as a sign that he wasn't interested anymore, but when they talked it through, she discovered that he simply preferred face-to-face interactions over texting. He believed real connection happened when they were together, not through digital messages. His way of showing love was through thoughtful gestures, like helping her with tasks she found stressful or bringing her favorite snacks. Think of it this way. Imagine trying to communicate with someone who speaks a completely different language. You may be speaking in one language, expecting them to respond the same way, but they're using a completely different one. They might express their affection through actions, like fixing something you need repaired or making sure you're taken care of when you're stressed. But if you're expecting frequent verbal exchanges, you might feel disconnected. Here's a metaphor to help clarify. Think of love like two different types of plants. One might be like a flower that needs constant attention, care and nurturing, while the other is more like a cactus. The cactus doesn't need constant watering, but it's resilient and strong. People's expressions of love work in similar ways. Some need more affirmation and attention, while others show care through small, steady actions. Just because their way of showing love doesn't look like yours, doesn't mean it's any less sincere. It's important to recognize that understanding and adapting to each other's love languages can really improve your connection. But this doesn't guarantee the relationship will work if the communication styles are too different. Research shows that when partners don't understand or respect each other's way of expressing affection, it can lead to frustration and even distance. If you're patient and open to compromise, you may bridge this gap, but sometimes it's not that simple. If the disconnect is too deep, it could be a sign that more isn't aligning than just how you communicate love. Ultimately, if someone truly loves you, they'll make an effort to connect with you in the ways that matter most to you. They'll make small efforts, pay attention to what you value, and show up when it counts. If you're not feeling that attention or effort, there might be other factors at play. Let's explore the next reason behind their behavior. Number 2, they fear losing their independence. The second reason someone might be pulling away, even if they care about you deeply, is that they fear losing their independence. For some, the idea of being in a committed relationship can trigger a deep-rooted fear of vulnerability, of giving up parts of themselves and losing the freedom they've worked hard to maintain. This fear can cause them to withdraw, not because they don't love you, but because they're afraid of being consumed by the relationship and losing their personal identity. Picture someone who has spent years building a life that revolves around their own goals and desires. They value their autonomy, whether it's making decisions on their own, following their passions, or having the space to be alone when they need it. The thought of a relationship, especially one that feels significant, can stir up anxiety. They might worry that getting too close to you means giving up the independence they've worked so hard to protect. Take a look at a real-life example from relationship forums. One man shared how, despite loving his partner, he found himself resisting her desire for more closeness. His hesitation made her feel neglected, but he explained that it wasn't her he was resisting. It was the fear of losing his own sense of self. His desire for independence wasn't a sign that he didn't care, but rather an instinct to preserve his personal space and autonomy. Over time, he was able to communicate his need for balance to her, and once she understood his fear, they found a way to meet in the middle. Think of it like this. Independence is something they cherish, something they've nurtured over the years. It's like a treasure they've protected, and the idea of love feels like a potential threat to that treasure. They want the connection, but they're scared that if they dive too deep, they might lose themselves in the process. It's a delicate dance of wanting love without giving up who they are. This fear of losing independence is especially common for people who have been single for a long time, or who have previously been in relationships where they felt controlled or overly dependent on someone else. However, here's the truth. If someone truly loves you, they will usually find a way to embrace the relationship without feeling like they're losing themselves. Real love doesn't demand that they abandon their individuality. It encourages the space to be both close and free. If they're committed, they'll seek ways to integrate you into their life while respecting their need for independence. That said, it's important to remember that this fear isn't something you can fix for them. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what's in our control, and as Marcus Aurelius wisely said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. This means you can't force them to overcome their fear of commitment, but you can choose to remain grounded in your own sense of self-worth. They need to confront this fear on their own, in their own time. Your job is to ensure that you're not losing yourself in the process. Sometimes giving them space to work through this fear can lead to a breakthrough. They may come to realize that they can still have the closeness they desire without sacrificing their freedom. But if they're unwilling to open up, even a little, it's not a reflection of your value. It's a sign of their own inner conflict. Now, let's move on to the final reason why they might be pulling away, even though their feelings for you are real. Stay tuned, because next, we're tackling that nagging worry you've probably been feeling. What if they're just not that into me anymore? Trust me, you won't want to miss this. Number 3, they're struggling with personal challenges. The third reason why someone might be pulling away, even if they genuinely love you, is that they're facing personal challenges that have nothing to do with you. Life can throw unexpected curveballs, stress, anxiety, financial struggles, or deep-rooted personal issues. And when people are in the midst of these battles, they can become distant. This isn't because they don't care, but because they're simply trying to keep themselves from being overwhelmed. During tough times, even the most important relationships may take a back seat as they focus on surviving their personal storms. Picture someone struggling to stay afloat in the middle of a chaotic, emotional whirlwind. When life feels like it's falling apart, their mind is preoccupied with just making it through the next moment. During these periods, even the most meaningful connections can feel like an extra weight, no matter how much love is there. They may withdraw, not out of lack of affection, but because they feel too drained to engage with others the way they usually would. Consider a real example shared by someone in a relationship forum. One woman explained how her partner became emotionally distant after losing his job. He stopped calling as frequently, seemed absent during their conversations, and didn't talk much about his feelings. She initially felt rejected, thinking that he was losing interest. But when they finally had an open conversation, he admitted he was overwhelmed by feelings of shame and self-doubt. His silence wasn't because he didn't love her. It was his way of coping with his own struggles. She was able to give him space to heal, understanding that his withdrawal wasn't a reflection of her, but a temporary phase in his life. When someone is truly struggling, their emotional bandwidth can be stretched thin, and it may feel like you're being left in the dark, wondering if you're still a priority. But this isn't necessarily a sign of them not caring. In fact, when someone loves you, they want to share their struggles and successes with you. They want to involve you in their world. If they're pulling away, it's more likely that they feel like they have nothing left to give. In another real-life example, a woman shared that her partner was distant and seemed uninterested in her daily life. He didn't ask about her goals or her day, and when she mentioned an exciting new career opportunity, he barely reacted. She began to feel unimportant, But after talking it through, she realized he was going through his own emotional turmoil. He wasn't intentionally neglecting her, he simply didn't have the emotional energy to engage. This is a tough situation because it can make you feel isolated in a relationship that should be about mutual support. But this isn't necessarily a sign that the love is gone. It could be that they're simply overwhelmed. Think of it like being in a partnership where one person is drowning in their own issues while the other is reaching out, wanting to help but unsure how. If they're not giving you the attention you deserve, it may be because they're struggling to keep their head above water. At this point, Stoic wisdom can help guide us through these tough emotions. Instead of taking their distance personally, remember that their behavior is a reflection of their inner challenges, not a judgment of your worth. As Epictetus famously said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This means you can't control their emotional state or how much they can give during a tough time, but you can control how you respond to it. If you feel like you're not getting the support you need, it may be time to step back and focus on yourself. Prioritize your own needs and goals, and give yourself permission to be the one who takes care of your emotional well-being. Don't let someone else's struggles define how you see your own value. Remember this affirmation: my needs matter. Write it down, say it out loud, and drop it in the comments to commit to your own growth. You deserve someone who can be present for you, even in their own moments of struggle. But ultimately, you have to put yourself first and recognize your worth. Remember, someone who genuinely loves you will take an active interest in your life. If they're not, it's a clear sign that they might not be the partner you deserve. Now, let's explore the next sign. Sign 4. They avoid important conversations. A fourth sign that they might not be as committed as they say is their consistent avoidance of crucial conversations. If they continuously dodge discussions about the future or shut down any talk about where the relationship is heading, it's a big red flag. Healthy relationships thrive on clear communication, and without it, misunderstandings can quickly pile up, leaving the relationship drifting aimlessly. Imagine trying to have an honest discussion about your feelings, your hopes for the future, or even your expectations of the relationship. But each time you bring it up, they deflect, change the subject, or make jokes to avoid getting serious. It's like trying to break through a wall, and it can leave you feeling frustrated and unheard, as though your concerns don't matter. Take, for example, a woman who shared her experience in a relationship forum. Every time she tried to discuss the future of their relationship, her partner would quickly divert the conversation to something unrelated or make light of it with humor. Over time, it became clear that they were on entirely different wavelengths, and she realized he wasn't ready to confront the reality of their future together. This kind of evasion doesn't just stall meaningful conversations, it can leave you feeling like you're walking on eggshells, hesitant to bring up topics that matter because you fear being brushed aside. Here's the truth: communication is the foundation of any strong relationship. If someone is persistently avoiding discussions about the future or brushing off your emotional needs, it might suggest they're not as invested in the relationship as they claim. In a healthy relationship, you should feel comfortable expressing your thoughts and desires, and you should feel heard, not ignored. If they're unwilling to engage in these vital conversations, it could be a sign that they're not ready for the level of commitment you want. This is where Stoicism can offer some clarity. Stoic wisdom teaches us to focus on what we can control, and in this case, we can control how we respond to their avoidance. Rather than waiting for them to open up, take the initiative to reflect on your own needs. Ask yourself what you truly want in a relationship and whether you're getting those things. You have the power to define your own future, regardless of their reluctance to talk about it. As Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. You don't need someone else to validate your feelings or your need for transparency. If they continue to avoid crucial discussions, it's important to recognize that you have the right to seek a relationship that aligns with your values, one where open communication is a priority. If you've found yourself in a situation where meaningful conversations are always deferred or avoided, it's a sign that you deserve better. Don't let uncertainty cloud your sense of direction. Affirm this with me. I deserve open communication. Drop it in the comments to claim your right to clarity and mutual respect. And remember that you deserve a relationship built on trust, transparency, and shared goals. Sign 5. They prioritize other people over you. This dynamic is perfectly illustrated by a story shared by a woman who started to feel like a second priority in her relationship. Despite her partner telling her that she was important, she began noticing a troubling pattern. When it came to making plans, or when a problem arose, he would always prioritize his friends, family, or work commitments over her. It wasn't just occasional, it was consistent. Each time she voiced her concerns, he'd promised to make more time for her, but the actions didn't match the words. Over time, she realized that it wasn't just about having a busy schedule. It was a clear sign that her partner wasn't willing to put in the effort to prioritize their relationship. This lack of commitment made her feel neglected and unimportant. Eventually, she decided to walk away, realizing that a healthy relationship requires both partners to actively make each other a priority, not just an afterthought. Think of relationships like a team sport. In any partnership, both people need to actively participate, pass the ball, and make the effort to keep the game moving forward. If one partner keeps passing the ball to everyone else, whether it's their friends, career, or family, it can leave the other feeling sidelined and unsupported. When this happens over time, the relationship can start to feel one-sided, and eventually, it can lose its momentum altogether. This is where Stoic wisdom can guide us. Instead of waiting around for things to change, it's important to focus on what you can control, your own response and your sense of self-worth. As Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. If your partner continually prioritizes others over you, don't let their actions determine your sense of value. You have the ability to maintain your peace and make decisions that align with your own needs. So, if you're in a relationship where you're always second place to other people or commitments, it's crucial to remind yourself, I deserve to be a priority. Write it down, say it aloud, and drop it in the comments as a commitment to honoring your own worth. If you find yourself constantly waiting for your partner to give you the attention you deserve, affirm this: I deserve attention and respect. A partnership requires both people to show up for each other. If that's not happening, it's time to evaluate what you need from the relationship. Let's continue by exploring the next sign. Sign 6. They don't prioritize your needs. The sixth sign that might suggest they're not as emotionally invested in the relationship as you are is if they frequently neglect your needs. In a balanced and healthy relationship, both partners actively consider and attend to each other's well-being, emotionally, physically, and mentally. But if you often feel like your needs are pushed aside in favor of theirs, or they seem to dismiss your concerns altogether, it could be a sign that their commitment to you or to the relationship isn't as deep as you hoped. Imagine this scenario. You're going through a rough patch, feeling overwhelmed, and you reach out for some emotional comfort. Instead of offering a listening ear or showing concern, they might ignore what you're saying, steer the conversation back to their own issues, or even downplay your emotions. Over time, you may begin to feel like you're putting in all the effort while getting little in return. This imbalance can lead to feelings of frustration, loneliness, and ultimately resentment. A story shared by a woman on a relationship forum illustrates this perfectly. She noticed that every time she went through a challenging moment, her partner would avoid offering support. He was either too focused on his own problems or indifferent to hers. She was there for him through his struggles, but he never seemed to reciprocate. It became clear to her that a relationship where only one person's needs are being met isn't a partnership. It's an emotional, one-sided dynamic. The hard truth is that if your needs are constantly sidelined, it could indicate that they're not truly invested in your emotional happiness. In a healthy relationship, both partners make the effort to nurture each other's well-being. If you find yourself doing all the emotional labor without support, it's time to reassess the balance in the relationship. Stoicism offers a helpful perspective here. Rather than focusing on what your partner isn't doing, focus on what you can control. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. If your partner isn't prioritizing your needs, it's crucial to prioritize your own. Take responsibility for your own emotional well-being, and remember that your feelings matter just as much as anyone else's. Affirm this: I deserve to have my needs valued. Write it down, say it out loud, and drop it in the comments as a commitment to yourself. Don't settle for emotional neglect or one-sided effort. You deserve a relationship where both partners are equally invested in each other's happiness. Your well-being is just as important, and you have every right to protect it. Choose self-respect and make sure you're with someone who acknowledges and respects your needs. These signs, whether it's avoiding discussions about the future, ignoring conflicts, or failing to prioritize your needs, are essential red flags to recognize. It's easy to fall into the trap of making excuses or hoping things will improve, but real love doesn't require constant fixing. True love is demonstrated through consistent effort, clear communication, and mutual respect. If you're not receiving these things, it's a clear sign that it's time to step back and reconsider what you truly deserve in a relationship. If you notice these patterns in your relationship, remind yourself, you deserve a partner who shows up for you, values your presence, and is actively working to nurture the bond between you. Don't settle for anything less than that. The last sign, they only reach out when it's convenient for them, is a particularly telling one, highlighting a dynamic that can leave you feeling emotionally drained and questioning your place in the relationship. When someone's attention or affection is only available on their terms, when they're not too busy, when they need something, or when it's easy for them, it can feel as though you're being treated as an afterthought. Genuine connection in any relationship, romantic or otherwise, is built on mutual effort. Both partners should be able to lean on each other and offer support, no matter the situation. If that balance isn't there, it's a clear sign that the relationship may not be as important to one partner as it is to the other. Consider the emotional toll this kind of behavior can have on you. Constantly being the one to reach out, to offer emotional support, or to take the initiative, only to be met with silence when you need them. Then, when you've almost reached your breaking point, they show up again with no acknowledgement of their absence, acting like nothing's wrong. It leaves you wondering whether your feelings and needs even matter, or if you're simply a convenience when they have no other options. One person shared a story in an online forum about being with someone who would disappear for days or even weeks without any contact. They would only return when they needed something, whether it was emotional support, attention, or a favor. The person initially tried to justify the behavior, thinking it was just a phase, but eventually the pattern became undeniable. It became clear that their partner wasn't truly invested in the relationship unless it was convenient for them. This is where Stoic wisdom can offer clarity. We can't control the actions of others, but we can control how we respond. Stoic thinkers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus remind us that our strength lies in our ability to focus on what's within our control, our peace of mind, our boundaries, and our self-respect. If your partner only reaches out when it suits them, don't internalize their actions as a reflection of your worth. Instead, use this as an opportunity to focus on your own well-being and prioritize your own needs. Affirm this: I am worthy of consistent effort and respect. This is more than just a mantra, it's a declaration of your value. You don't have to settle for being treated as a secondary option or someone's last resort. You deserve to be treated with the same commitment and respect you offer. Write it down, speak it aloud, and drop it in the comments to declare your commitment to honoring your worth and protecting your emotional health. Remember, relationships are about mutual care and respect. If someone truly values you, they will demonstrate that through consistent actions, not just words. They'll be there for you during both the highs and the lows, and they'll work together with you to navigate challenges. If these signs feel familiar to you, it's time to pause and reconsider whether this relationship is truly serving your best interests. You deserve a partner who invests in you as much as you invest in them. Never settle for less. If this content resonated with you, take a moment to reflect and share your thoughts. Let us know how this video impacted you by rating it from 1 to 10 in the comments. And as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more empowering content that helps you stay strong, independent, and confident in your self-worth. Stay true to yourself. Keep embracing your value. You are deserving of love, respect, and consistency. Thanks for watching. See you next time.